Coming in as the first coach on this list of worst ever rugby league coaches is Robert Williams. He coached University and North Sydney in the 1930s. When he was with University in 1935, the club went winless for the entire year and finished with the wooden spoon. He then finished his coaching career in the late 30s with North Sydney, where he finished with a win percentage of 18%. Then we've got Eric Lewis. He coached South Sydney in the 1940s for one season in 1945, and the club only won one match for the entire year and finished with the wooden spoon. The next coach on the list is Ron Hilditch. He coached Illawarra in the 1990s and he also coached Parramatta. Ron Hilditch finished with a win percentage of 29%. Even with Parramatta, admittedly, in 1994 and 1995 we didn't have the greatest of teams, but he stayed on in 1996 when we had the Canterbury Four. We had Adam Ritson, I believe. We had some other players that we'd signed. So we had a pretty stacked team, and he still failed to guide our team to the finals in that year. So Ron Hilditch is one of my worst coaches. The next one on the list is Mark Murray. He coached Eastern Suburbs in the early 90s, where he only had very limited success. He didn't even reach the finals. They were sort of like a lower to mid-table team. Then he coached the Queensland State of Origin team. He won the 1999 State of Origin series with Queensland, but that was only by default because the full-time score in Game 3 was 10-all, so Queensland had won the year before, so they automatically became the champions because they'd been the champions the previous year. He then became Melbourne Storm's head coach, and he failed to guide them to the finals in 2001-2002. Now, Melbourne's been in the competition since 1998 and they've only ever missed the finals 3 times. 2001, 2002 and 2010 when the salary cap thing happened. So Mark Murray is the only coach in Melbourne's history to fail to get them to the finals. Then we've got Stephen Kearney. He's the only current coach I've got on this list. He started his coaching career with Parramatta and, as we all know, was the wooden spoon coach in 2012. He's gone on to coach New Zealand with not very much success whatsoever, and currently he has a win percentage of 35%, and he's been a head coach for 9 years now, so I think that's pretty poor. Next coach on the list is Len Stacker. He finished with a win percentage of 23%. He coached Penrith and Western Suburbs in the late 70s, early 1980s, and he finished with a wooden spoon with West in 1983. The next coach is Alan Jones. He took over as Belmean coach in the early 90s, and some people have credited him with destroying Belmean. He moved on a lot of the established players and stars, and he brought in a bunch of unknown players. He was previously a rugby union coach, and Paul Sirenen in his autobiography was very critical of Alan Jones because he was trying to make Belmean play more like a rugby union team instead of a rugby league team. And Alan Jones ended up having to step down from coach at the end of 1993, and as a result the team that he built come last in 1994 under Wayne Pearce. The next coach is Tommy Bishop. Now, Tommy Bishop had a pretty successful captain coach role with Cronulla, but if you look at the team that they had, of course they were going to do well. He then became a full-time coach of North Sydney in 1979, where North Sydney finished rock bottom of the table. They only won 2 matches all year out of a possible 22 games, and Tommy Bishop was sacked. The next coach on the list is Bert Holcraft. He won 2 wooden spoons with Eastern Suburbs in the 1960s, 1965, 1966. In 1966, Eastern Suburbs finished last on the table and were winless. And as of 2020, they're the last club to go winless throughout the season. The next coach is Paul Langmack. He won 2 wooden spoons with South Sydney in the early 2000s when the club was readmitted. I remember Paul Langmack as South Sydney coach. He was completely out of his depth. He just never come across as a coach. He. When I think about Paul Langmack, I think about the Paul Langmack the player. But when he became a coach, I just knew that it was never going to work out, and it was kind of capped off when he called Owen Craigie, who was playing for South Sydney, a racial slur, and he ended up getting the 2 wooden spoons with South and was sacked. The next coach on the list is Shaun McCrae. He was coach of South Sydney in 2006. Now, South weren't great in the early 2000s, but when Shaun McCrae took over, he took him the new levels of shite. The club finished last in 2006. They were absolutely awful, and Shaun McCrae was moved on after the club finished with the wooden spoon. And the last coach on the list is Laurie Freier. He coached Eastern Suburbs and Western Suburbs in the 1980s. He finished with a win percentage of 32%. At Eastern Suburbs, they were pretty much second last on the table when he was the coach. And then he took over as Western Suburbs head coach in 1988, where the club finished with another wooden spoon. So it wasn't a great time to be a coach for Laurie Freier. That's my list of worst ever rugby league coaches. I hope you enjoyed that video. Is there any coaches that I missed? Is there any coaches that you'd suggest? Leave them in the comment section below. If you have some spare time, go over to my Facebook page, which is Rugby League History. I also run the Instagram page as well. I'm going to be doing a couple more videos this week. Stay tuned. I hope you all take care of yourselves. Look after each other. I'll catch you all later. Tatty bye.